Hello everyone and welcome to another tutorial. So I'm sorry about the light, it's a bit glary, but basically what I'm going to be doing in this tutorial is making characters out of people that I know. So here I'm just showing you the pictures so that you can see it without the glare of the light. And I've decided I'm splitting this video up into two parts just to keep the length watchable, otherwise you'll be, watching half a video. So yeah, let's get into the tutorial. So first of all, I'm starting off with my friend Rain, and the way that I like to create characters is by focusing on prominent features that people have. So with Rain, first of all, you can see that she has kind of a distinctive face shape. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it. But she has like sticky outy cheekbones, a very discernible nose, very discernible eye shape. She wears space buttons a lot in her hair. Her chin is quite prominent. Her lips have a very specific shape. So the way that I try to do this is I look at features like this and try make the shape. Like with the eyes, the shape of her eyes is very specific. So I feel like in order to make it recognizable as her, you have to get these certain features right when you draw them. So yeah. Heading into the video. So this is the first time I've ever drawn Rain. So when I characterize myself, I've drawn myself quite a few times just because I'm the most accessible subject matter to myself. So starting out was a bit shaky. I think I started out a bit big at first and realized I wouldn't be able to fit anything else on the page. And then this time I couldn't get the eye shape right. So I started a bunch of times, but I eventually got it right. So basically the thing with Rain's eyes is they have a specific shape. Towards the corner, or like the eye, the bit by the nose, it's a lot higher than the other end of the eye at the bottom. So that shape is very specific to Rain's eyes. And then the hair was easy. It's basically just two circles on top of her head, and fringes are fine. I didn't really do anything special with her neck or the clothes that she was wearing. I kind of just copied those straight from the reference. But in terms of her nose, I didn't quite get it right. Like here, I made the bottom bit a little bit too big, which made her nose look like buttony and bulbous, which just isn't the shape of her nose. It's more like straight. It's very defined. It's really difficult to describe. And also another thing is she wears a lot of winged eyeliner. So it's features like this. Like when I'm making a character for me, it's the important, most prominent features of a person. So for me, it's the fact that I have short hair, I wear glasses, I have really big eyes. But for Rain, she has winged eyeliner, space buns. She wears lipstick, so she has like a prominent lip line. Her nose is a specific shape, and it's stuff like that. That really makes a character more specific and recognizable as a certain person rather than anyone else. So the idea is to transfer the features of the person into your style. So I feel like I've done an okay job here. Like, I'm really proud of the ones that I color, and the others are just meh. Obviously, if it's the first time I'm drawing someone, it's not going to be the most amazing thing you've ever seen. But with this one here, I really struggled. I started doing like really smiley eyes and then like really smiley mouth. I didn't like the mouth. And it was at this point that I realized, I didn't really realize it before, some of the stuff you only really see when you're drawing it is Rain's chin is a very prominent feature of her face. So if you don't if I didn't draw her with a chin, like sometimes I just draw faces without it. It's not that they don't have a chin, it's just not very pronounced in shape. It's kind of just like fades from cheek to chin to like ear line or whatever. If you look at some of my other work, maybe that'll make sense to you. I don't know, it's difficult to explain stuff without other visuals. But with Rain, you needed to, or at least I felt like I needed to make her chin a little bit more obvious, just to make it look a little bit more like her, because that is what she looks like. So, like you can see, I'm really struggling with this face. The proportions aren't working, the hair's not working, the eyes aren't working. But eventually I get it to a point where I'm okay with it, but it's not my favorite drawing out of all the ones I've done on the page. In fact, it's probably it is my least favorite drawing, let me not lie. But yeah, I think, I really don't know if I'm giving any useful advice, but I'm trying. It's difficult to explain. But see here, when I redid that jawline, it looks much more like Rain, because that's the kind of profile that her jawline has. Like, it wasn't perfect, so I erased it and tried again, but it was definitely much more successful than previous attempts had been. I think what the problem is I've drawn her face too squished. It's like she has a longer face, so when all of her features are quite like smushed together, it doesn't really work. So here I'm trying the profile version, and that's another thing I can stress. I don't know if that's the word, but when you're doing characters of a person, it's important to get a variety of angles of the face, because sometimes when you're looking at something head on, you don't really understand the structure, and knowing it from sideways can help you when you draw it from head on, if that made any sense. So if you see a nose from the side, you can see it has a specific kind of profile, and then when you draw it from the front, you can kind of indicate that profile a little bit, but in a more frontwards way, which makes the nose speak a little bit more to the shape that it would be if it were on a real person. So it also just helps get you used to different views of the person's face, and it just helps you get more accustomed to it, which will make drawing it a lot easier. So the profile that I did is okay. It's not my favorite because I think it's a little bit more realistic than I want it to be, but it's not a bad drawing and I'm not angry at it at all. This last little one that I'm doing here in the corner is probably my favorite on the whole page. I wasn't intending to do it. It just, had an awkward amount of space. I decided to fill it. I was like, and it turned out really well. Anyway, so this isn't the only way that you can make characters. Obviously, there's lots of different ways. This is just kind of the method that I use. If you're struggling with going straight from realistic to, I suppose it's a caricature of them, or drawing them in your own style, what I can suggest, which I found helpful in the past when I'm struggling, is drawing a realistic version of that person. So if you take a reference images of them, if you take a reference image of them and then you draw it relatively realistically, you'll kind of get a feel for the shapes that are in their face, the positioning of the features, and then if you go progressively more towards your style with the drawing, or draw the drawing faster and faster, you'll realize A, what are the most important elements of the drawing, and B, you'll be more accustomed to it, so when you draw it in your own style, it'll be a little bit more comfortable. So if you're having problems going straight from the realistic image to your own stylized version of the image, that's an in-between step that you could take that might help. So here I've just finished inking the first drawing, and I'm basically just going to use watercolor pencils to color it. Basically I was going to do this. Sorry, I'm yawning. It's kind of late at night. Anyway, basically I was going to do this page completely in watercolor, but then when it came to it, I was too lazy to do the whole watercolor thing. So I just did colored pencils because they're a little bit faster for me. Anyway, but here what I wanted to speak about was color and how that's very important in what you're drawing. So I don't remember if I have any reference images of Rain currently, but she currently has dyed her hair like a pinky red. So obviously that's the color that I decided to make her hair. Also just because it's an interesting color to draw, like, yeah, you know. And basically what I wanted to say about color is you don't have to be realistic when drawing it. I mean, you don't really have to be realistic when you're doing any of it. If a certain thing that you've drawn isn't in the reference image, but it like reminds you of that person or communicates something about their personality, leave it in. I feel like a lot of the time it makes the characters that you're drawing a lot more interesting. And also you don't have to be completely realistic to the color. So if you want to change the color of someone's hair to communicate the fact that maybe they're more artsy, they're a little bit more reserved, they're quite energetic. So if they have like a brown, mousy colored brown hair, but they're a very energetic person, you might make the color of their hair more vibrant or even use a bright color. Just to... Sorry if you hear any meowing, my cat has decided to be vocal. Just to kind of emphasize the personality traits that that person has. That's also a nice way to kind of characterize a person that you're drawing. Obviously, if you're a stranger, you can take creative license if you want, but you won't necessarily know very much of their personality. But yeah, so that's just what I wanted to speak to about with color. And then obviously if you're doing costume design for this character, it'd be fun if you maybe chose a costume that either is something very signature to what they wear or something that communicates something about their personality. All of this is very effective, but it all depends on your kind of personal style or what you want to portray with the character. It's all about personal choice, and nothing's right or wrong. It just depends on what works for you and what doesn't. So when I made my character, the outfit that I chose was basically shorts and a stripy t-shirt because generally that's just what I wear. And I wanted to make it kind of a real character of me, if that made any sense. But say if I were doing something for Rain, I think it would be a little bit more out there, fashionable, just because that's kind of the personality that she has. So, it all depends on subjectively what you're drawing. And I mean, I don't know if anyone's actually watching this enough, but like, whatever. But if anyone has any questions or if they're doing a character and they just need to push it a little bit further and they want some advice or something, you can always ask me in the comments or, I'm very open to trying to help people where I can. I don't claim to be an expert on this. This is just something that I do relatively frequently. So I feel like I have some sort of advice to give on the subject, but I'm not calling myself an expert by any means. I definitely have a lot I can learn from other people. But yeah, this is basically just my technique and what works for me. I think I've pretty much explained all that I can in terms of the choices that I've made as well as the process. There is a second part to this video that I'm going to post next week. I just decided to put it in parts to keep it at a relatively decent watching length because this video by itself is 20 minutes long-ish. So having another character that I'm drawing would just make the video a bit ridiculous in length. So I've split it up in two. So I'm going to talk more about the process in the next video as well, just because I'm drawing a different character. There'll be different requirements for that character. So if you're still interested in the subject, please tune in next week. But yeah, I think for the rest of the video, I'm just gonna play some music, or if you really want to, you can turn the sound off and listen to your music and just watch. But yeah, I will see you guys next week. I'll pop back in at the end of the video just to sum up or something. Okay. I just basically wanted to say thank you so much for watching the whole video if you did. I really appreciate it, and I really do hope it helped in some way, shape or form. And even if it didn't help, maybe it'll inspire you or something. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I also hope you tune in next week for the next part of this video. If you want, that would be great. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks, and if you feel like it, you can also subscribe to my channel. I've got a couple other tutorials, and also a lot of drawing videos. If you're interested in that kind of thing, please join me in this. Otherwise, I'd really love to hear from you guys. If you liked the video, if you didn't like the video, if you just want to say something, that would also be great. But yeah, have a great week until next week, and I hope to see you again soon. So yeah, okay, bye.